Много моля всички да заповядат в залата, за да дадем начало на днешния висок форум. Моля колегите просто да приканят навън хората да заповядат. Добър ден на всички отново. Бих искала да дам в началото думата на вице-премиер Томислав Дончев за откриване на нашия форум. Заповядайте, господин.
Уважаеми господин министър, госпожо Боянова, уважаеми колеги, скъпи приятели, скъпи гости. Дадох си сметка тази сутрин, идвайки насам за това хубаво събитие, че това е петата конференция, която откривам тази седмица. Успоредно с това си дадох сметка, че това е един уникален формат, където човек, който при всички случаи има по-ниска степен на секторна експертиза от всички присъстващи, може да говори първи и то на всичкото отгоре с нагласа да им каже нещо, което не знаят, което е феноменално. Но от двете закачки или провокации, с които започнах, трябва да извлечем нещо творческо. Факт е, че поне две от петте събития, които откривах тази седмица, бяха свързани с дигиталната икономика, дигиталното образование, дигиталния дневен ред. Така че въпреки закачката в началото, може да се окаже, че мога да бъда полезен, ако не като уникални тези експертиза, които не сте чували, поне в ролята си на провокатор. Говорейки за земеделския сектор, безспорен факт е, че ние си имаме един голям пакет от традиционни предизвикателства. Те са много. Количество, обеми на произвежданата селскостопанска продукция, успоредно с императива живот и производство в хармония и опазване на околната среда, решаване на проблема с изхранването на европейското население с висококачествена храна, полезна за здравето, мислейки в световен мащаб, производство на достатъчна по обеми селскостопанска продукция, която да изхрани световното население, борбата с измененията в климата, системи, бюджети за субсидиране и подпомагане на селскостопанския сектор, живот и работа в селските райони. Тези, които се занимават с кройката на европейските политики, познават всички тези проблеми достатъчно добре. За да бъдем обаче в крак с пулса на времето, днес ние имаме и нови предизвикателства. Безспорен факт е, че днес в рамките само на едно поколение се извършват повече промени и повече иновации спрямо примерно век, два или три назад. Днес времето, пулса, нововъведенията се движат с такова темпо, че ако искаме поне да бъдем със същата скорост, ние трябва да бъдем много бързи. И е абсолютно недопустимо, когато говорим за индустрията, когато говорим за икономиката, ние приоритетно да коментираме индустрия 4.0, да говорим за връзките и с образованието, с администрациите, с целия останал ред и да не проведем същия разговор по отношение на земеделието. Това означава, че не третираме селскостопанския отрасъл равноправно, а никой не би си позволил такова нещо. Теми като роботика, изкуствен интелект, данни, интернет на нещата, все по-голямото приложение на широколентови цифрови комуникации, сензорно задвижващи машини, микропроцесорни, облачни технологии, все повече ще бъдат част от селскостопанския сектор. И опитвайки се да разширя леко фронта на провокациите, за голяма част от вас приложението на едни подобни технологии в производството на селскостопанска продукция няма да бъде новост. Всички сте чели, виждали, надявам се някои от вас да го прилагат използването на всички тези технологии в производството. Няма да е далеч деня, където една голяма част от механизираната обработка ще се извършва
A lot of all mechanized processing will be done using drones and not man-driven equipment. And if we want to keep looking at the broad picture, we must continue the discussions. We cannot just think about digital technology and production. We must start with planning, the use of high tech in planning, and then move on with our discussions after the stage of production and look at digital marketing. Digital marketing, dear colleagues, is a fact. Everything is becoming a huge platform, including in terms of agricultural produce. Not going back to all challenges which are traditionally considered, let me say that over the past 10 years, despite all skepticism, we have achieved quite a lot of things. But those achievements should not really make us relax. In Bulgaria, I don't know how it is in other countries, any success whets your appetite for more and more. And as I said in the beginning, it is a dubious factor whether I am entitled to give you advice. Let me say that being ready for the future is a very, very wrong message, because it means we're sitting there waiting for future to happen on us. Dear colleagues, we must make the future and not be sitting ready for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister Donchev, Minister Putsanov, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to be here and to do this opening. In this context, I would need to tell that unfortunately Mr. Vladimir Rachmanin, the Assistant Director General of FAO Regional Representative, has fallen sick, and that's the reason why he has asked me to do this opening speech on behalf of FAO. I'm the regional program leader in the rank of a Deputy Regional Representative for Europe and Central Asia. FAO was founded 73 years ago in order to eliminate hunger and to achieve food security in the world. Significant progress helping the millions of hungry people all over the world has happened. However, after the steadily declining of the global hunger, it appears to be again on the rise. In 2016, the number of chronically undernourished people in the world is estimated to have increased to 815 million, up from 707 million in 2015. The Regional Office for Europe and Central Asia is covering the largest geographic zone of FAO from Lisbon to Vladivostok. We are covering 50 countries, and we are supporting up to 20 countries in the region. The region of Europe and Central Asia already eliminated hunger, but is still challenged by the issue of sustainability. Malnutrition in various forms still persists and coexists with noticeable differences between the countries in the ECA region. While overweight and obesity are prevalent across the regions, millions are still suffering from deficiencies of micronutrients. Undernutrition in children under age of 5 years is still prevalent among low-income groups. Given the diversity of the region that includes major agriculture producers and consumers, as well as countries which rely on small and medium-sized producers, our regional activities focuses on three priorities: empowering smallholders and family farms, improving agri-food trade and market integration, and last but not least, fostering sustainable management to cope with the impacts of climate change. Smallholders and family farms are dominating the farm structure in our region. The overall goal of FAO is not only to empower smallholders, women and men, to increase productivity and competitiveness, but certainly also to strengthen their livelihoods. Trade barriers in the agro-sector are one of the predominant concerns in the region, and it's also something which concerns the sub-region. Trade liberalization and facilitation, mutual recognition of trade agreements, harmonization of procedures amongst the countries in the regions are crucial. FAO is ready to share its technical expertise on issues of improving agri-food trade within its regional initiative. FAO is also very active in supporting effective applications of trade rules in the region of Europe and Central Asia. For instance, the FAO workshop held in 2016 in Serbia equipped participants with a better understanding of the rules and procedures to address and to resolve trade issues for agri-food products in the WTO and other type of agreements. Related to sustainable natural resource management under a changing climate, the main objective is to strengthen countries' capacities to sustainable natural resource management, including adaptation and mitigation to climate change, disaster risk reduction in agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. Dealing with the consequences of climate change is a cross-cutting priorities. And in this context, one of the tools to support the transition of agriculture is e-agriculture, or the use of information and communication technologies in food and agriculture. In 2006, FAO has received a global mandate to facilitate the e-agriculture action line by the World Information Society Summit. At FAO, we do not only promote ICT information technologies, but consider the creation of appropriate policy and institutional environments and capacity development as an important area of work. And this can all together allow innovations to take place. I would like to emphasize that the potential for digital acquired through e-agriculture to fundamentally change food and business systems is real and immediate. With the introduction of, for example, big data analytics, cloud computing, cheap and improved sensors, and high bandwidth mobile communications, a revolution in e-agriculture has been observed in the past decade, known as Agriculture 4.0. It paves the way, I think, for the next revolution, consisting of, for example, unmanned operations and autonomous decision systems. Agriculture 5.0 will be based around robotics and artificial intelligence. Hence, the impact of those new technologies is still unknown and requires further socio-economic assessment and strategic and participatory planning. And it requires also structured environments to explore and to assess innovation proposals led by FAO and by the member countries. FAO is advocating for a national e-agriculture strategy formulation and implementation. There is a crucial need for actions at the policy level to maximize the benefits and minimize the potential risks, and to ensure government commitments to upscale new solutions and create a structured, enabling environment for innovation development, support systems, and capacity development, which are pertinent for generating a development change through ICTs in agriculture. I think e-agriculture contributes not only to the development of the sector, but remains a key driver for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals of the Agenda 2030, in general, which demand to end poverty, hunger and malnutrition, and to ensure universal access to healthcare and well-being. In accordance with the core principles of the Agenda 2030, governments in Europe and Central Asia and region shall take measures to leave no one behind and to close digital, rural and gender divides, which is known as the triple divide. Acknowledging the heterogeneity of the agriculture and food sectors in countries in Europe and Central Asia region, the diversity of food and agriculture, national policies and objectives, and the great variability in their preparedness to adopt e-agriculture, country-specific e-agriculture policy options closely aligned to the national agriculture and rural development policy goals are needed. FAO recommends that the ministries of agriculture shall take a very active, even leading role in the development and implementation on such a strategy, not allowing the agriculture sector to lag behind of other sectors of the economy. Furthermore, countries that are part of trade integration processes shall consider common actions to close the digital divide amongst the countries, such as harmonizing regulatory and capacity frameworks and applying common standards and platforms. FAO advocates for a participatory policy formulation on e-agriculture linked to agriculture and rural strategy goals. Based on a detailed needs assessment of agriculture sectors against the available ICT solutions and mechanisms for fostering development with ministries of agriculture taking the lead while involving other key actors, but also engaging the private sector, academia, and the civil society. Particularly the private sector, academia, and the civil society are key players and key stakeholders we have further to invite. In 2016, FAO and the International Telecommunication Unit jointly published a National E-Agriculture Strategy Guide and a toolkit, and it has been piloted in many countries. One of the countries of the region was in Albania. FAO follows also a cluster approach when providing support to the countries. In this sense, FAO has developed a regional e-agri index assessing Europe and Central Asian countries' demands and preparedness to formulate and implement a strategy towards transforming their agriculture sectors through digitalization. The index is based on 90 existing indicators on the status of adoption of ICTs in the country, along with the enabling environment for ICTs and agriculture-related macroeconomic indicators. Namely, we divided countries in clusters based on the share of agriculture in the GDP, agricultural productivity, and other agriculture indicators, the level of ICT environment, and the status of an enabling environment that encompasses the whole infrastructure, legal, institutional, and others. The e-Agri Index provides information on the areas of emphasis or de-emphasis of a national agriculture strategy. It demonstrates which country, with similar other indicators, can provide relevant good practices to learn from and endeavor to replicate. It indicates also areas for collaboration amongst the countries, but also amongst the stakeholders. FAO will continue to develop tools such as the e-Agri Index for the countries and promote also the preparation of an e-agriculture strategy. Finally, at FAO, we believe that no technology alone can resolve the problems in agriculture, but the right combination of channels, processes and tools that include digital innovation, both technological and social. Biological improvements and agroecology can make a development change where it is most needed and create a crucial difference in the livelihood of people involved in agriculture and related fields. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in concluding my remarks, I would like to thank the organizers for providing me with this opportunity to participate in this important regional dialogue. I hope I could contribute with this speech and taking the chance to invite you, dear colleagues, dear ministers, to our FAO regional conference, which is this time held in the Russian Federation in Voronezh. And interestingly, the topics at the regional conference are also focusing on e-agriculture, and particularly the use of information and communication technology for the development of sustainable and inclusive agri-food system. The second topic is on sustainable agriculture food systems in a changing climate. So I would like to invite you to come to the Russian Federation of this important FAO conference, and I would like to wish you a productive deliberation, and thank you for your attention. Okay. Now I'm changing very quickly my head. I'm entering into the function as a moderator of the high-level panel. I have been informed that the commissioner is arriving, so which means we are going to take the commissioner, in fact, during the panel discussion, and so therefore we are using the time in order to start then the panel. I would say the advantage of this is we maybe have a bit more time because as I'm directly entering from my speech on behalf of the regional representative, of course there is not such a long introduction needed, which I have in fact planned as a moderator for the event. So for this high-level panel, where I'm very happy to welcome these high-level experienced, on one hand also politicians, but on the other hand certainly also some of the experts. I think it's quite important to highlight as an introduction, I think, three main points. The first one is, as mentioned already in the introduction before, we have, of course, increasing demands, and we have problems in terms of sustainability. We have increasing demands in terms of also food production, because by 2050, the world is supposed to reach 10 billion. On the other hand, we have growth in low and middle income countries, which is slow. But on the other hand, the growth in the countries is also resulting in a higher consumption of meats, fruits, and vegetables. Although agriculture investments and technological investments are boosting productivity, growth of yields has also slowed down, particularly in the countries who have already a very high level. Food losses and waste are certainly also existing and in fact taking off from the production increase. So the productivity growth is hampered by the degradation also of the natural resources and the loss of biodiversity. On top of that, we have certainly also climate change effects, which disproportionately result in some of the regions in food insecurity, or they're also hampering the crop and livestock production. A transition in that sense is needed to have more sustainable food systems. And as mentioned already before, FAO believes that e-agriculture is one of the tools in order to help this transition to more sustainable food systems, because it's a key enabler of agriculture and rural development through the improved information and communication process. It involves the designing, the developing and applying of innovative ways to use information and technologies in rural domains. Technological application, facilitation, support of standards and norms, capacity development, education and extension belong to the broader concept of e-agriculture. I think there exists a general consensus amongst the policymakers across Europe that the ICTs can support and can help the achieving of the sustainable development goals, and within that, more sustainable and inclusive food systems. The digitalization or applying ICTs in food and agriculture systems holds great promises, but of course it has also a number of risks which need to be taken into consideration, and as mentioned already before, an e-agriculture strategy in that sense is very important. Digital technologies are emerging rapidly and changing also the business models. And this is one of the elements where there are the risks and the opportunities. I was speaking before about the triple digital divide, so the divide between countries, rural and urban areas, and gender. We, from the FAO point of view, advocate for adoption of a strategic approach on e-agriculture at the national level, in order to maximize also here the benefits. Furthermore, a strong cooperation amongst the countries in food and agriculture can advance also the digitalization in the sector, which is lagging behind, as I mentioned before, also to other sectors, and I think we have to support to close this gap. So this is in fact a bit the framework and the scene which I wanted to set for this panel discussion. We are expecting from the panel to identify initiatives at the country level, so we would like to hear some of the examples, some of the key messages, and also in terms of the country engagements and the progress in formulation and implementation of the national agriculture strategies. We were talking also before that the issue of policies, the policy development across also line ministries in terms of digitalization is quite important to close also the rural divide. And I think it's also important because in a lot of cases when we talk about digitalized agriculture, we talk about precision agriculture, we talk about satellite imageries. We have to make sure that we are not leaving behind the smallholders and the family farms, which are dominating and supporting the rural livelihood and the rural sector. So with these expectations, I would like just to quickly outline also the modalities. We are expecting from the panelists short statements as a first round. And then, as I said before, if the commissioner is going to arrive after this round, we're going to take her intervention on board. And then we will have a second round of hopefully some open questions, but we would also like to invite the audience here in the room to think about burning questions which you may then also raise with the panelists. And then we hopefully close by closely to 11 o'clock with the conclusions from my side. So, having done introductions in 2 rows. Let's come to the details, and let's come to further substance from the panelists. And in this case, I would like to invite, and I would also like to introduce His Excellency Porozhanov, the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Forestry of Bulgaria, and would kindly ask you, Excellency, for your statement.
Thank you. Уважаеми колеги, уважаеми
Mr. Yele, colleagues, guests, it is indeed an honor for me to host this high-level forum dedicated to digital agriculture. The fact that over 200 people participate in today's forum, representatives of IT technologies and agriculture, shows that this is indeed a very important topic for the development of all European countries. We chose this topic so that it meets the key priorities of the Bulgarian presidency: digital economy, European prospects, and connectivity of Western Balkans. Mr. Donchev mentioned these topics as well. In order to meet global challenges, in order to enhance the competitiveness of Europe, we need to enhance the adaptability of the common agricultural policy to the fast-changing world of technology. It is very important to develop digital communications and implement them in agricultural sector in order to have a value added. This will contribute to deal with challenges related to food security and environmental protection. At the same time, a stable basis will be created for long-term sustainable growth. The implementation of digital solutions in agriculture does indeed provide a very high potential in order to enhance productivity of agricultural farms as well as their competitiveness in Europe and in the world. On a national basis, we need to have coordinated actions between the various administrative units in order to implement the concept on the digitalization of Bulgarian agriculture. We need to work together with the IT business and the agricultural sector in order to develop a national strategy to shape the policy for the digitalization of agriculture, the so-called Agriculture 4.0. This strategy should give green light to developing the infrastructure needed for the digital transformation of agriculture. Therefore, we should think about developing new skills of the farmers. Therefore, raising awareness and organizing training at regional level is indeed significant. Also, we should continue to develop the broadband internet infrastructure in the rural areas so that we could have digital transformation by the end of this decade. We should focus on the role of young people in the digitalization of agriculture. We should think about developing digital hubs in Europe which provide access to modern knowledge and technologies. Last but not least, access should be ensured to financing under the Rural Development Program, Measure 16.1, so that groups are established within the European Innovation Partnership. The objectives of the strategy is to use digital technology and provide access to such technologies to everyone in the agricultural sector. The national strategy will help us prepare a national action plan up to 2020. You all know very well that there is a debate going on in the Council of Ministers, in the European Parliament, in every member state about the future common agricultural policy. And I believe that innovation and digitalization should be and will be the main priority for funding, because the quality of food products is indeed very important. And last but not least, the increasing number of people on our planet need good quality food and reliable food supply. I would like to outline two initiatives of Bulgaria. The first initiative is the participation of the National Agriculture Service in two projects under Horizon 2020. These are products on farmer network in order to have access to innovations and knowledge. This initiative was launched early this year. And the second project is Access to Innovations, a project undertaken by the National Agricultural Service. The objectives of these projects is to encourage small farmers to implement innovations by involving them in on-the-spot demonstrations, and also by involving experts from the National Agricultural Service in the awareness-raising campaign among farmers. Also, we're going to develop an informational hub, and the participants in the hub will discuss those technologies which are suitable to small agricultural farms. Also, it is important to give them information about the cost of such a farm application. And now, let me thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Minister Porozanov, for this outline. You mentioned that the CAP is probably a main priority of funding in the future. And in this case, I'm asking Ms. Galvan from the European Commission to see to what extent digital transformation of food systems are in the view of the European Commission, and maybe what are the new incentives the Common Agricultural Policy can provide.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to apologize on behalf of Mr. Tassos Haniotis, Director in the Directorate General of Agriculture and Rural Development in the European Commission. He couldn't attend due to a last-minute emergency due to the internal works that we are carrying out now in the Commission in relation with the future of the Common Agriculture Policy. So I am replacing him today. Let me introduce myself and to tell you what I'm doing in DG Agri. I work in the Commission in the same Directorate General than Tassos Haniotis, and I work in the Research and Innovation Unit, and I'm responsible for the implementation of the European strategy to support digital transformation in agriculture and rural areas. We heard already about the challenges that the farming sector is facing, the challenge that the farmers face at the moment, because we are asking them to produce better and more food, and we are also asking them to do that with less inputs. Reducing at the same time the environmental footprint and meeting the consumers' demands that they are becoming much more demanding at the moment. All of this coping with with climate change demands and of course in a volatile global market. So it's a very complex situation and many challenges that they have to face, but we really believe that digital technologies, they can contribute to meet the challenge, they can help farmers to be more productive, to be more sustainable, but also to be more competitive. We can do farming systems and farming sector more competitive thanks to the digital technologies. That's why digital technologies and the applications of ICTs are becoming more and more important and the core of our activities at the European Commission, especially when we speak about the Common Agricultural Policy, the current one, but also the future CAP, and also the research and innovation policy. So, for those that you were yesterday in the seminar organized, we already heard about the strategy that we are implementing at European level. This strategy has three main pillars that they are interconnected. So we are working very hard in ensuring that that the farming systems, the farming community is taking advantage of the rapid evolution of the digital technologies. So we are investing in projects to test how Internet of Things technologies, big data, artificial intelligence, robotics, how they can help farmers to be more sustainable, more productive, and how they can contribute to do the farming system more competitive. We should not forget the impact. This was already mentioned. There are a lot of promises about what digital technologies can do for agriculture, but also in rural areas. But we should put a lot of attention on what are the potential negative effects when we speak, for example, about jobs, or when we are speaking about the services in rural areas. We need to anticipate those negative impacts in order to see whether the current policy framework can mitigate these negative effects, and if not, in which sense we need to modify the policy that we have. Finally, and not less important, we need to ensure that we are working to enable the conditions for the uptake of digital technologies. There are already many technologies existing in the field, but there is a problem with the use of these technologies. Not many farmers, they arrive to the use of these technologies, and this is due to many reasons. Broadband and access to connectivity is a precondition, especially in rural areas, to access to those technologies. So from the Commission, we are working together with member states and regions using structural funds to extend this infrastructure in rural areas. Digital skills was already mentioned. This is crucial. This is very important. We need to ensure that we have enough critical mass at the moment at universities and enough students that will meet with the objectives and with the requirements for digital professionals that we will require in the future, not only in agriculture, but in all these sectors. Education and training is very important. This is key, so that's why the role of the advisor services is becoming more and more important. So we need to work very closely with the member state, with the farmers. And finally, we need to work together with member states. We need to work together with the regions. We need to align our agendas for this digital transformation and to align our policies and our programs. So there are many things to do. At European level, these three pillars, they are implemented through Horizon 2020, the research and innovation program, but also through rural development programs, so through the Common Agricultural Policy. So member states, they have, thanks to the European Innovation Partnership, to the EIP, this important instrument, they can allocate money to finance innovation projects at regional and local level. And this is very important because at the end we are also creating a lot of knowledge exchange between countries thanks to the applications of this EIP. So just to conclude, in the future of the Common Agricultural Policy, innovation and digital will have an important role to play. And if I have to finish with just key message, I will say that's the time to act. The digital revolution is happening now. We need to go together at different level. So my key message will be we need to work together with member states and with regions to promote with the instruments that we have, policies and programs, to create the enabling ecosystem, the enabling conditions for creating this innovation ecosystem that we need in order to ensure the digital transformation of agriculture and rural areas. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Galvan, for this, particular the emphasis on going together and to act at this time. I would like to turn to His Excellency Nikolovsky. The former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia demonstrates very optimistic figures in relation to ICT enabling environment and readiness. How do you think these could help your country to develop the goals?
Raimond, the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Forestry of Bulgaria, Mr. Rumen Porozhanov, the representative from the European Commission, FAO, other ministers, state secretaries, deputy minister, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure and honor to be with you today on this high-level panel on e-agriculture and have a possibility to address you on behalf of the government of the Republic of Macedonia and on my personal behalf. I believe that the two-day forum on e-agriculture, bringing together policymakers, experts, research institutions, farmers, businesses, and civil societies will give a valuable contribution in the promotion of information and communication technologies and will raise awareness about the potential of the digital technologies in agriculture in all the region. The agricultural sector of the Republic of Macedonia is mainly represented by small farms, which focus their economic activity on the local and regional markets. The current structure of the agricultural sector makes it difficult for farmers to achieve the standards and to provide the quantity needed to reach international markets. Projected climate change impacts will affect many of Macedonia's most important crops, which will experience significant production decrease. Research and innovation are recognized as key instruments to achieve the goals of the Agenda 2030 and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And family farms are considered as part of the solution for ensuring food security, rural poverty reduction, and environmental sustainability. However, family farms are not able to realize their full potential for sustainable development alone. They need to be supported through appropriate national policies. One of the strategic objectives of the Common Agricultural Policy of the European Union is to close the digital gap between urban and rural areas and secure online connectivity for the rural areas, which is vital for the modern agriculture. Nevertheless, more and more new advanced technologies are used for agricultural development, such as satellites, internet, mobile phone, and social media. The government of the Republic of Macedonia has been actively working on establishing the agricultural innovation systems and improving the information and communication technologies infrastructure. At the state level, the information and communication systems are playing an important role in the programming and implementation of agriculture and rural development programs and other agriculture policies. After the established interoperability between the registers and database on the relevant institution of the Ministry, Payment Agency, and Food and Veterinary Agency, and the digitalization of land parcels through the system of identification of land parcels, we have achieved full implementation of the integrated system for administration and control. The submission of requests for state support are carried out electronically without submission of paper application forms and supporting documents by the application through a single form based on the digitalized land plots on orthophoto surface of the land parcels identification system. In parallel, the use of the farm register and farm accountancy data network has been upgraded to higher standards. One of the most positive examples in the country, in Macedonia, for application of information and communication technologies can be found in the Prespa region. Thanks to the use of the field observation and sensor data, agrometeorological monitoring, mobile technology and social media, farmers from Prespa and region are able to make better decisions on pesticides application and also for the irrigation. However, I could say that much more needs to be done to support the transition towards an innovation system technology. Ladies and gentlemen, the priority in the future application of information and communication technologies must be supported by national agricultural strategy for sustainability and environmental responsible agricultural development. The strategy has to support innovative ways and smart farming system that will lead to the most optimal use of limited resource and maximization of the profit. Digital agriculture can provide better opportunities also for the young farmers and slow down the process of migration from rural to urban areas. The digital transformation is great challenges, and we have to make every support to succeed. Let me close my speech by thanking to the government of Bulgaria, FAO, and the Institute for Agro-Strategic and Innovations for organizing this forum and inviting us to participate at the different levels. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Minister Nikolovsky, for this, particularly also emphasizing again the risks also for the family farms. Let me in this case turn to Mr. Halilaj, the Deputy Minister in Albania, with many also smallholders. So what do you see are the challenges of the digital transformation in Albania? And maybe you could also tell some success stories as the single window project was also implemented.
Okay. Thank you, Raymond. Dear Minister Porozhanov, dear participants, first I would like to thank the Minister and the Bulgarian Ministry of Agriculture together with the FAO for the organization of this event. There is a general agreement, as it was mentioned also before, among policymakers that the information and communication technologies can support the transition towards sustainable use of resources, increased efficiencies along food systems, and bridge the gap between rural and urban income distribution systems in general. In this regard, Albania's policy approach has started to address first the creation of data management and information systems in agriculture, and second, transferring or facilitation of technology introduction to farms. Creation of solid data management and information systems shall serve as a basis for the informed policy making. Worth mentioning here is the development and implementation of integrated administration control systems, starting with a complete and updatable digital farmers register, including the animal register and the land parcel identification system. Second, our aim is to raise awareness and shift resources towards implementation of digital technologies at the farm level. Here we've moved towards incentivizing youth initiatives to engage in agriculture by facilitating their access to finance and adoption of technologies that improve production. These systems are the pillars of quality information that needs to pass along to farmers, followed by careful and value-added analysis. Here we've taken concrete measures for effective information and advisory service delivery to farmers through our single window initiative supported by FAO. Our initial assessment of the platform is that the method of delivery works, but more needs to be done on our side in terms of support infrastructure. Our belief also is that that focus on youth as our new generation of farmers needs to be done in a way that investments in technology will not just be done for the sake of it, but they will be so for the value coming out of those investments. Moreover, we believe that investments in precision farming will allow our policies to shift from a bureaucratic approach to a result-oriented approach. Therefore, I believe that in conclusion, forums like this are quite important to share experiences and best practices that will help boost quick implementation of new technologies in agriculture and push new frontiers in production and environmentally sensible farming. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ilya, for this, particularly also emphasizing the need to further invest in infrastructure. So the initiatives as such is one, but the infrastructure is another one. And I think also very key is the mentioning of young people. On the young people are probably also the accelerators in bringing digital infrastructure in and thinking into agriculture. Let me turn in that sense, particularly also to Mr. Kilai from Kosovo, with having also a lot of young people, and so you're working in the field of agriculture and forestry. And it would be good to inform also the audience on the main e-agriculture and forestry initiatives, and maybe expand also how to upscale such initiatives to move towards more national deployments. Thank you.
Dear organizers, ministers, deputy ministers, FAO representatives, head of delegation, experts, farmers, participants of this high-level forum on e-agriculture. Before answering to your question, I would like that on behalf of Kosovo government to express a high consideration and gratitude to the Bulgarian presidency of the Council of the European Union, Bulgarian Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Forestry, and the FAO for organizing this event and taking the initiatives for introducing good practices and promoting digital innovations in agriculture and forestry. We are happy to be here today, and we look very much forward to benefit as much as possible from this event in order to have a clear objective for continuing with this pieces of application and using the information and communication technologies in agriculture, forestry, and rural development in Kosovo. Firstly, I would like to update you with some general information about Kosovo's agriculture. As you all know, Kosovo is a small and landlocked country, mostly covered by mountains and hills. A range of low hills in the center separates two main plains of Kosovo. From around 1.8 million of people that lives in Kosovo, about 62% of lives in rural areas. With a total area of about 1.1 million of hectares, 51% is agricultural lands, 45% is forest, pastures, and meadow, 2% with orchards, and less than 1% with vineyard. Agriculture has traditionally played an important role in Kosovan economy. The contribution of the agricultural sector to national GDP and employment is similar to the countries in the region, but higher than in OECD and EU member states. The agricultural census, which was conducted in 2014, showed that we have around 130,000 agricultural holding in Kosovo, which cultivate 413,000 hectares of agriculture area and breed 261,000 cattle, 183,000 sheep, and 28,000 goats. In average, an agricultural holding in Kosovo cultivates through 3.2 hectares of agricultural area. In our country, the food and agricultural sector has the potential to contribute significantly to overall economic development, poverty reduction, and food safety. As in 2016, the agriculture contributed with 10.5% in GDP. The share of agricultural products export value to total export value in 2016 was 15%. The total value of agricultural production, including services, is estimated to be 736 million euro, where the plant product had a value of 412 million euro with a share of 56%. Livestock products 302 million euro, 41%, and services 22 million euro, which had a share of 3%. To further advance and improve the situation, agricultural policy are oriented towards increasing sustainable agricultural productivity, including policy that affects the agricultural businesses, environment, and the meaning of using natural resources to support structural transformation and innovation in agriculture. The allocated budget to support the agricultural sector has increased from year to year. In 2016, the ministry had available a budget of 55 million euro as an annual support program for farmers and agro-processors in the country. According to recent studies made by Kosovo Agency of Statistics, the key problem of the agri-food sector in huge balanced trade deficit of agricultural products, export 325 million euro, import 2,627 million euro in 2015, according to Kosovo Statistical Agency. Forestry sector. Regarding forestry sector, Kosovo has 45% of its territory with forest. According to National Forest Inventory carried out in 2012, the total forest area is estimated to be 481,000 hectares. From this, 60% of forest land is owned by the state, and the remaining 40% owned by a large number, more than 120,000 of private smallholders. The total standing wood volume is estimated around 53 million cubic meters. About 90% of the total volume is broadleaf species, while the rest of it is mixed of continuous space. Forestry is an important provider of wood as a fuel, which is one of the most important fuels in Kosovo's household. More than 80% of Kosovo's households use it for heating and cooking. The estimates provide that the Kosovo forestry sector, including industries, accounts for about 1.02.
Mr. Kila, sorry for interrupting you. Could I ask you to come to the key message related to digitalization of the agriculture sector? Sorry for being a bit rigid, but we are a bit in terms of the time constraint. Thank you. You need to press the... Yeah.
Use of ICTs, tools and application in Kosovo agriculture and forestry sector is of great perspectives. Based on a recent study made by STIC, which is Kosovo Association of Communication and Information Technologies, the findings show that both rural and urban areas utilize internet connectivity and its benefit. Further, this study reveals that internet penetration in Kosovo is at satisfactory levels and can be compared to developed countries. Internet penetration based on a holds is 84%. Internet penetration based on users is 76%, and the geographical internet penetration shows that on regional roads there are in average 9 wireless network per kilometer. Moreover, according to the finding of this study, most of users' habits are comparable to global trends. Similar to global trends, social networking and internet voice communication services are mostly used by women. Kosovars are most active in Facebook, being the main channel for reaching the widest user base. Considering this situation and the needs for further promotion and applying the ICT tools in managing the resources, we would like to have more networking and exchange the knowledge and the experience for increase the productivity. We request that their design should be in conformity with regional and global initiatives, as well as existing laws and related to the development strategies. In this aspect, our ministry is open for future collaboration and the eventual support by FAO and other, as we think that this could be in favor of strengthening capacities for applying the ICTs tools for entire agriculture chain of production, then food safety, veterinary and phytosanitary policy and standards for qualitative agricultural products marketing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kilay, for this related also to Kosovo. Moving, in fact, to Mr. Cicai, we, in fact, have Slovakia, which has, I think, also large structured agriculture. So we are very keen on hearing from you to elaborate on the e-agriculture initiatives in Slovakia, Mr. Cicai. Thank you.
Ďakujem za slovo, vážené dámy a páni.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Digitalization and automation are the keywords in any sector of market economy around the globe. Agriculture is part of that. E-agriculture is becoming more and more important in ensuring sustainable, more effective and competitive production. Implementation and updating of modern technologies can be achieved in order to increase efficiency, decrease production costs, improve welfare of animals, and strengthen the role of farmers in the food supply chain. Digitalization enables farmers precise and updated information, and on the basis of such information and data they can make instant decisions. Obviously, a high level of professionalization is important in order to be able to specify requirements for specific sectors. For example, for the specific selection of crops, fertilizers, reflecting the actual needs and climate conditions. Thus, digital farming has a great potential to contribute to the sustainability and competitiveness of this sector in the future. However, this approach is still relatively quite new. At the moment, the number of users is quite low, and it's true that input costs are currently quite high because we need first to implement infrastructure. However, information so far is quite limited about the future and the future benefits. That's why especially small farmers are quite quite suspicious of the introduction of these technologies in practice. That's why consensus across the supply chain is important. In the Slovak Republic, digital farming is not a new concept. In the plant production, it has been applied for many years in the production of vegetables in closed contained areas where it is applied from the very beginning, for example, from the process of irrigation, application of fertilizers, and controlled ventilation aided by computers. In other sectors of three-crop productions, digital technologies are also applied, especially in the field of specialized crop production. The adoption of such technologies by farmers depends on the availability and affordability of such technologies. GPS, remote sensing are mainly applied by farms producing monocultures on large areas. And we can say that these types of farms are mainly industrialized. The question is whether our Europe does need such type of agriculture. The important source of information for farmers are remote sensing maps indicating layers of habitats, biotopes, habitat elements, and so on. Total automation and digitalization of all the procedures in the field of animal production is a must when it comes to specific types of or species of swine and poultry in industrial farms. But there are also some other important animals that are also very important. For example, where we can increase their production. Farming is and must be an instrument, a very efficient instrument in the hands of professional farmers who have good understanding of the need of the nature, that have to be respected and farmed in line with the requirements of the nature. Digital technologies must be at the center of management. That can also serve as a tool that would attract young people into farming. This fact, in the long run, can contribute to the generational change in the agricultural sector, and it can also increase the competencies and skills of farmers. These new technologies are attractive especially to young farmers who are facing several problems such as lack of financial means and competitiveness, strong competitiveness and competition. This is why they often do not have enough money to introduce new technologies into their production. It needs to be underscored that digitalization and automation in agriculture has several social factors. It improves the lives and well-being of farmers. They have more time for training, for obtaining new information for their businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cicai, for this particular also highlighting the issue of animal production and digitalization. I would like to ask Mr. Cugic, State Secretary from the Ministry of Agriculture in Montenegro, to speak also about the initiatives in Montenegro, taking into consideration from a landscape point of view, is also a very specific country, lots of forests, lots of mountains. I think e-agriculture probably has also other challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear Minister Porozhanov, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to greet you on behalf of myself and the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mr. Simovic, who could not be with us today. First of all, I would like to thank the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Forestry and the Minister Porozhanov for hospitality and the invitation to participate in this forum. I would like to thank our European partners, the European Commission's directorates, general representatives for their continuous support. The topic of today's forum is very interesting, having in mind the speed with which our society is changing, particularly with regards to digitalization. In light of the dynamics of the change, it is necessary to react in an appropriate and timely manner. The situation is no different when it comes to the area of agriculture. Raising awareness of everyone, the creators of our agriculture policy, as well as agriculture producers, regarding digitalization and in producing new standards in agriculture is our reality and need. This need needs to be addressed in the best way possible. The government of Montenegro has firmly decided to fulfill its obligations regarding the EU membership, and we are very much dedicated to reaching this goal. The process of EU accession after entering NATO is a strategic goal of Montenegro, and a lot has been accomplished in this regard. We have opened 30 and temporarily closed 3 negotiation chapters. We have met all conditions for the beginning of IPAR 2 program implementation. We have recently received the authorization for managing 39 million euros of Eurofund, with the additional 12.1 million euros from national budget and 35.7 million euros from beneficiary participation. A total amount of 87 million euros will be invested through the IPAR program. These funds shall enable agriculture producers to increase the competitiveness of agricultural production and processing capacities, and to invest in strengthening production and establishing EU standards in food safety. We published 2 public calls for primary production and for processing, and through the IPAR program we expect to maximize the absorption of funds from this program. Through all our programs and IPAR project with IFAD, MIDAS, and through national budget, we are very dedicated to support small farmers and young farmers. We have a lot of young farmers and small farmers in Montenegro, and we want to support the growth of their competitiveness and also through innovation and digitalization. Moreover, LPIS LPIS project is ongoing in Montenegro. Its aim to establish the LPIS system in Montenegro, provide hardware and software infrastructure, as well as new orthophoto maps. In June 2017, a pilot version of LPIS software was implemented and used for unique identification of agricultural parcels used for organic production. After the successful implementation of this pilot project, a continuation of a fully functional LPIS followed, ensuring identification of all agricultural parcels in Montenegro, establishing a geographical information system which represents a merger of cartography and database technology. The final software version of the system is still being developed. New digital orthophoto map in the LPIS is being prepared. Hardware infrastructure has been produced with the LPIS project and installed in the Directorate for Payments facilities. The next step is installing the final version of the software with the new digital orthophoto map. The next phase consists of implementing the project for establishing the IACS, Integrated Administration and Control System, which is being realized with the help of the European Commission and international financial institutions. At the moment, FEDEN system, the Farm Accountancy Data Network, is being established in Montenegro. During October and November 2016, a pilot Farm Accountancy Data Network research was implemented, which included 30 farms from various agricultural sectors across Montenegro. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development sent an official request to DG Agria for RICA system membership, and after receiving a positive reply, the process of membership was initiated. Also, we are working on upgrading our fishery information system and developing of this system for automatic identification of vessels. We shall continue to work on further introduction of standards in the process of agricultural digitalization, because we recognize that it as our need. We are also ready to share our experience with the countries in the preparation phase of their structures and help them reach their goals that they are interest of their farmers and the agricultural sector as a whole. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Cugic, for this outline, particularly also the e-identification and orthophoto map of parcels for organic farming, which I think is a very interesting also project and could be also interesting for sharing further experience. Let me turn to Mr. Feldman, Deputy State Secretary for Agrarian Affairs of Hungary. Hungary has embarked on participatory approach for a digital agriculture strategy formulation. So we would be very pleased to hear from you also some of the experience in that sense. Mr. Feldman, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Please allow me to welcome all of you with great respect. In Hungary, indeed, we have completed the digital agrarian strategy, which, in our hope, comprises all the tasks we need to produce in order to digitize the entire food and agriculture industry. I trust that the precision farming decision technologies are available in full armor in Hungary. At the same time, it does not mean that the state and our community would not have more thing to do, as we have already addressed it, and other speakers have emphasized that these technologies rapidly spread across the globe, and those who lag behind in their implementation will lag behind in development and in competition too. So the stability of income for the farmers on the one hand and the smaller load on the environment are key considerations, and we wish to play a key role in that, not only in agricultural economies but also in a broader sense of the word as well. We take the transfer to digital economy very seriously. And by 2018, for each Hungarian household, we will provide access to superfast internet by way of an infrastructure. And by 2020, we wish to bring about a 5G network, which is practically unlimited bandwidth across Hungary. This is imperative. This digital infrastructure is the basis for the agricultural farmers to employ this tool in their activities. Our digital agrarian strategy is based, first and foremost, among other things, on training and education. It is so because the technologies, the precision technologies, which have become available in the past 15 years, they don't really call for a great deal of sophistication. These are pretty straightforward systems, data collection regimes, and are able to handle processes which are not a major challenge to anyone in the agriculture. However, the new digital technologies are complex, containing and processing a whole host of data, cloud-based services. They use algorithms. So they do call for a kind of knowledge and skill set which are not available at the farm level by default. So therefore, the significance of education and extension services have increased significance, along with the Hungarian Agricultural Chamber. We have initiated a digital agricultural academy or training program. We have further details about this, and this is aimed at bridging the digital divide, particularly vis-à-vis the smaller farmers. An e-learning framework system has been introduced, or is in the making actually. E-learning curricula, training materials, and a knowledge base is being built, which is readily accessible on a web-based regime. We will roll out the system via sample businesses, test cases, or sample cases. And we would like, once again, bridge the gap between the current situation with the help of the Extension Service to plan and design the technology which is best fit for their scale of economy. The contribution of the state in that process is critical in the development of the infrastructure, in the training and education, bringing those to the appropriate levels, in developing the data policies, because we have a whole host of data coming from the farmers via the dedicated systems, which we are, for the time being, unable to feed back to the farmers in practicable ways. So the mutual flow of these data will be the challenge for the next phase, and increasing the volume of freely available data to them, be that weather forecast, plant protection, data and information. All these are critical for the farmers. And I also think, in essence, that in addition to the role of the state, it's also imperative that we do this together, that is, with the IT service providers and their professional organizations, with the higher education institutions and research institutes, with the professional chambers and trade unions. That is, the Hungarian digital agrarian strategy wishes to bring all these players on board. We have done so, and we wish to implement that strategy as well. And I hope that this will become a good example for other countries as well. Thank you very much.
Feldman for this outline, particularly also again emphasizing the different stakeholders and also the infrastructure and the internet speed. Let me turn to Turkey, to the Undersecretary, the Deputy Undersecretary, Mr. Hasan Özlü from the Ministry for Food and Agriculture and Livestock. And Mr. Özlü, how did e-agriculture and the digital agriculture take part in your 18 to 2020 strategic plan prepared by the ministry? And maybe you could tell us about the 3 best applications in your country on e-agriculture. Thank you.
I would like to start off by saying good morning, and I would like to greet the distinguished minister, all of the participants, all of the representatives of the FAO, ladies and gentlemen. As a Turkish delegation, we'd like to extend our gratitude to you for inviting us to this meeting. Mr. Chairman, in Turkey, we put a lot of emphasis on e-agriculture and digital agriculture. We started this system in 2013 with the agricultural information system. We covered a certain distance in the meantime, but we're still working on updating and upgrading the system. The agricultural information system is a system that the farmers can use and the state can use. In this system, it's important to have an integrated system. In other words, all agricultural related data is brought together on a web-based system. We collect agricultural information in a digital system, analyze the information, and present it back to the users for their use. In the agricultural information system, we now have 48 models. We continue to increase the number of modules we have in the system. We have what we call spatial databases pertaining to agricultural parsers, irrigation sources, and other sources. So these databases collect data automatically through satellite imaging, aerial photographs, and remote sensing systems. Of course, we also use agricultural early warning and observation stations to collect data. In other words, our farmers can use this information automatically. In this system, we have 43,335 users. And on a monthly basis, we have 384 million queries on the system. Both farmers and other stakeholders can make a query. For example, agricultural farmers can ask questions about insurances, agricultural practices, and other issues. In this system, we have not only the Ministry of Agriculture, but banks, insurance companies, as well as other public entities have access to this system. So they too can benefit from the data on the system and regulate their work based on the data they get out of the system. Of course, we have different levels of authorization for different types of users. So this system now offers information about parcels, crops, and farmers. We can generate statistics to make forecasts for the future. In addition, we can also organize the subsidies to farmers based on the data we get out of the system. I'd like to talk to you about 3 best practices or applications that we have in Turkey. In Turkey, we have the farmer registration system and agricultural support module. We have 32.5 million agricultural parcels in Turkey, all of which have been digitalized and integrated in the farmer registration system. So we have information about 2.2 million farmers, and we can manage this information online. Let me talk about another system we have. It's called the Agricultural Land Information System. The agricultural land in Turkey covers 24 million hectares, and as I said, we have a total of 32.5 million agricultural parcels. All of these parcels, have been digitalized. They have all been given ID numbers, and all of these parcels have been associated with their own owners and users. We have another system called HIBIS, or the Livestock Information System. In this system, we have records for 16 million bovines and 43 million ovines, that is sheep and goats. So we use the Livestock Information System to follow all of these bovines and ovines. We have electronic tags for each of these animals. So through this system, we can follow the life cycle of breeding cattle all the way from calving to slaughtering. I don't want to take more of your time. I realize that other people would like to make presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Özlü, for this outline. Let me turn to Bosnia. Dusan Neskovic, the Assistant Minister in Ministry of Foreign Trade and Economic Relations. FAO studies demonstrate that Bosnia could benefit from the development of e-agriculture. What is your view? What is the view of the ministry? Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving this opportunity for Bosnia and Herzegovina to take part in this meeting, and I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to present our case.
Bosnia
and Herzegovina, within agriculture's share is rather great, but about 20% of our population live off and depend on agricultural production, which means that agriculture is of particular interest for Bosnia and Herzegovina and for its entities, Republic of Srpska and the Federation. State level, this ministry.
The Minister for Foreign Economic Relationships and Trade is tasked with coordinating the strategic papers, like the strategic paper for agricultural information system, where Bosnia-Herzegovina devotes most of its attention to the preparations and building up of the systems which are necessary in our accession to European Union. First of all, we want to build up a unique, integrated system of control in agriculture, EACS, with all the elements it requires. We had a working group made up of all relevant stakeholders and institutions, and to draft a comprehensive strategy. Good thing is that the same working group is preparing another strategic paper defining our future strategy in e-agriculture, because we have realized that we need strategic papers guiding us in future in all areas in agriculture, defining the roles not only of those who will be future beneficiaries of e-technologies, but those who are to provide them as well. The role of new technologies, namely the digital technology, we can see it lately and in the future even more, will change the world around in all areas, including agriculture. I couldn't tell you that Bosnia is not availing itself of its possibilities. Digital is present in Bosnia, but only with big, almost industrial size producers, but we need to make it available to farmers, smallholders, because we have a lot of small holdings which are in part selling their produce on the market and part producing for themselves. These producers need to be given opportunity to access new technologies and new knowledge. Bosnia and Herzegovina is suffering from depopulation of rural areas, especially the youth is leaving rural areas, is leaving villages. New technologies, computers, technologies could stop, in our view, this drain of youth from the villages, because youth are oriented to new technologies in producing and placing their farming produce on the markets. Therefore, we are believing that what European Commission is doing, what FAO is doing in strengthening the agriculture and e-agriculture in Western Balkans is of crucial importance for Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we wish to participate in all projects. Once again, I would like to thank the organizers, Bulgarian government, for organizing this event. And on behalf of Bosnia-Herzegovina, I would like to thank also for many other events that were organized, supporting, promoting future integration of Western Balkan countries during the Bulgarian presidency. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also particularly happy to hear that you mentioned that e-agriculture.
Hvala Dušane, baš mi je drago da čujem da svakako da digitalna poljoprivreda može doprinijeti da ljudi ostaju na selu, što je
This round, before we're going to then have also the commissioner, Ms. Gabriel, will be Mr. Grelot. The French situation is also that there is a push from national strategies towards innovation and to have also operational tools. So we would be happy to hear the experience here from France.
Thank you. Monsieur le Ministre, dear colleagues, I first want to present the apologies of Minister Stefan Travers, who acknowledges the implication of Minister Porojanov in the Bulgarian presidency of the European Union. Minister Travers unfortunately had to stay in Paris for discussing an important legislative project with the Parliament, and it is my pleasure to represent him here. I will first say that for us, e-agriculture has not to be a policy itself. It is a combination of different policies, and we have to take all that into account. First, the agriculture policies and tools are a way to implement an agricultural policy which has to be defined at the national and European levels. And second, the agricultural policies themselves, they are not independent of every other things, but they have to be connected to a wider agri and food system. And I can give some illustration with that. We have just terminated a national conference on food and agriculture, and this has resulted in a roadmap, and the roadmap is on the internet. Third, the e-agriculture policies are linked with ICT policies. And under ICT policies, I would mention first the physical infrastructures, and we have mentioned the networks, for instance. And second, and which is very important because we do not need only tools, but we have to put something in that tools. We need databases and we need information collection systems. These information collection systems now are designed at the European level. I think about Copernicus with the Sentinel systems. We have for sure the positioning systems, the GPS, but not only GPS. Galileo is the European system, and it is now under operation. And we have complemented these tools, these European tools, with national tools as well. A third component of the ICT policies is education and training. And education and training for the concern of e-agriculture has to deal with people specialized in agriculture, but we also have to specialize people in data science, and I can elaborate that later. And the fourth component I think about under ICT policies are information regulations and standards, and other form like charts, which is not hard law but soft law. A fourth element, which is in this combination to obtain e-agriculture policies, that there are innovation policies. We have made a substantial work 3 years ago in France, which resulted in a report. The name of the report is Agriculture and Innovation in the Perspective of 2025. And this report contains 96 actions, and 45 of these actions deal with innovation in digital tools, in robotics, in genetics, and some other issues. And the report is on the internet. For innovation policies, in France we have defined a framework. We like to define frameworks in France. And these frameworks has innovation clusters. We have 67 innovation clusters. These clusters combine private companies, private and public research center, education and training facilities, small and medium enterprises, and startups. And 11 of these 67 clusters deal with agriculture and food. And we have also a large innovation program with initiatives and incentives. We are now defining a program which is a very large one. In fact, we will combine in a single program a number of existing ones, and we will complement them. The total figure for this program is 50 billion euros over 5 years, and 5 of these 50 billion euros are for agriculture and food projects. And fifth component, e-agriculture and new mines, because e-agriculture is not only tools and techniques and technologies, but hopefully there is still a place for men and for women and for all men and for all women. And if I say that we have to take into account these new mines, that's because maybe especially in France, we are used to what I call Cartesian approaches. We have a problem, we study the problem, we know that there is a solution, and we define this solution, and then we implement the solution. But this is no more the case with digital technologies. We have to move from these comfortable Cartesian solutions mining systems toward challenging, flexible, opportunities-minded approaches. And only these flexible approaches can provide place for disruptive innovation. And if we are sure of something, that is that within the 2 or 3 or 4 years, next years, we will have disruptive innovation coming from the new generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grillo, particularly also about the impressive amount of investment which is being done on the side of France. We are in fact concluded now the first round of the statements, and as mentioned before, we are having now Maria Gabriel, the European Commissioner for Digital Economy and Society, for the opening statement. And I think it's very good to move from agriculture again to the larger part of digitalization. You have the floor, Ms. Gabriel.
Благодаря много, уважаеми министър Порожанов.
Thank you so much, Minister Porozhanov. Participants in this high-level forum on digital agriculture. I'd like to thank you for the invitation to join this high-level forum. It is a very concrete step ahead, giving us yet another platform to exchange opinions on what we need to do in order to deliver to European farmers the benefits offered by digital technology. I'm glad that we can discuss this topic here for several reasons. First, I firmly believe that rural areas have high potential. Secondly, digital transformation is core for all of us. There are no societies and no individuals that can stay apart from this transformation. And last but not least, all of us Europeans talk about Europe transcending its current borders. Why is it important to remember these three aspects? Firstly, because agriculture has been and will be a very important driver for our development for Europe and for Western Balkans, because this is one of the focuses in the topics of today. Structural changes in modernizing agriculture translate in real terms into increased competitiveness, job creation in the European Union and the region of Western Balkans. We all are aware that these changes target economic advancement. They are also set to sustain resilient and vibrant rural communities, and we all want to help in that. Throughout Europe, including within the EU, there are huge challenges which the agricultural producers are facing. They are required to produce more and to produce better, while at the same time reducing their imprint on the environment, meeting the growing demands of consumers, dealing with climate change, and unstable global markets, and all of that in the environment of very underlying and deep digital transformation processes. New technologies have the potential to revolutionize agriculture, making it more precise, effective, and sustainable. And I could hear those key words in your speeches already. And that is why the European Commission is fully committed to enhance and speed up deployment of new technologies in agriculture to the benefit of European citizens, farmers, and businesses, and in order to provide a framework and incentive to increase investment in connectivity and infrastructure within our activities for the single digital market, Horizon 2020. And you are already asking yourself, what are the specific measures which are being taken as we speak? First and foremost, the single digital market strategy aims at opening up digital opportunities for everyone. There is a serious digital gap between urban and rural areas. Only 40% of households in rural areas in the EU have access to fast broadband, more than 30 megabytes per second, while the percentage for the EU as a whole is 76%. Obviously, it is a serious challenge which has its role for prosperity and job creation. The lack of connectivity is an impediment for the people living in rural areas as a whole. And only high-performance broadband networks can ensure new digital applications that provide speed, quality, and short turnaround times. Let me talk about some specific initiatives that have been undertaken since I took the post of Commissioner for the Information Society. We have launched the Broadband Competence Offices initiatives together with my colleague commissioners. We would like to have places in rural areas where people can get information for possibilities where they can avail of opportunity fundings. Please take note and make use of that. Also, a platform for all municipalities which takes care of the Wi-Fi for the e-Wi-Fi. I rely on agricultures to make sure that they take avail of this opportunity because it's a first-come, first-serve program. And then since October 27, there is a regional program which focuses on identifying hiccups and the needs for specific actions, and rural areas are among the most active ones. After months of work, they are going to release a report on this platform, and I hope that we can maintain a brisk dialogue on this so that within the next budget of the European Union and the upcoming working programs of the European Commission, all of these challenges can be addressed. I must talk about some more challenges, of course, and certain risks. On the one hand, we know that farmers do not want to be locked up in a relationship with a single provider in order to procure all of their equipment, because that provider may hold rights on the data produced in their holding. Holdings produce data, but that data could potentially be used to the detriment of that holding. We must be aware that there is a common market which exists on ownership of data and interoperabilities that sustains connectivity amongst and competitiveness among the various applications. We're very serious about data. We have a considerable database with high quality, but still more needs to be done in order to optimize its benefits, and this is one of the needs we need to address. I heard from some of the speakers that skills is increasingly a popular topic. Although there is data all around us, whether it is in a database or not, it is important to have people who can deal and handle that data. And that is why I hope to see more specific programs ensuring that young farmers and teachers in rural areas can provide access to those skills. We have two specific proposals. On the one hand, we have new ambitions for the European Coding Week, which takes place in October, to cover about 27% of all schools in Europe. I rely that all schools which provide education to future farmers will be active on them. Another important initiative is digital innovation hubs in rural areas. This is the place where scientific research, new technology, farmers and agricultural practices can meet and move ahead together. Each of those initiatives will, enjoy my wholehearted support. Something more specific on another project. In the latest Horizon 2020 program for the period 2017, about 40 million has been invested in projects which test bench and further develop solutions based on robotics, large data, and Internet of Things. One such promising project is Internet of Food and Farm 2020. This is the largest pilot project funded by the EU with 30 million euros, which is executed at the European level in order to consolidate the leading positions of Europe in the areas of Internet of Things and technologies applied in the agri-food business. It aims to support experimentation and dissemination and deployment in real world of Internet of Things in the agri-food business across Europe. Its purpose is to make precision agriculture a reality, which you also mentioned. Through the technologies, these technologies, we can take up real steps, and Internet of Things helps improve yields, improve the quality of produce, the reduction of pesticides and fertilizers can be minimized. The efficiency can reach new levels. Internet of Things technologies also allow for better traceabilities for food, increasing food safety. 19 scenarios have been set up to be ready to be used in 5 sectors: arable land, dairy, fruit, meat, and vegetables, all of them developing and testing, demonstrating Internet of Things technologies on the field across Europe. We expect the first results in the first half of 2018, while Bulgaria still presides the Council of the EU. Within the next working program for Horizon 2020, this is the period 2018-2020, we have increased the level of our effort by another 100 million euro, which will be invested in digital transformation in agriculture, and about 40 million euro in personalized nutrition. This new working program, Horizon 2020 for 2018-2020, reflects the wide discussions we had with stakeholders such as farmers, food businesses, policymakers, providers of technologies and researchers, as well as end users, on the need to support a real digital transformation. It is important to highlight that Horizon 2020 is not only available to beneficiaries from the EU. Candidates from accession countries can also apply. Let me encourage them to do so. Let me talk about the Western Balkans now, a region to which I fully committed, and I really laud the support that the topic is receiving from the Bulgarian presidencies. Everybody knows that the Western Balkans are part of Europe. Cyfrovization and digitization can be a key to boost the European integration, because digitization is not a choice, it's a need for business and economies globally, including the Western Balkans. The European Union, therefore, has came up with some very positive political signals. I would like very specifically to focus on the EU Western Balkan strategies, which was released in February. For the first time in an EU strategy on the Western Balkans, we have a digital program component. This digital program is definitely going to cover rural areas, from roaming to digital hubs and broadband internet data securities. These are the milestones which now have their framework. During the high-level meeting on the 17th of May to be held here in Sofia, we, the European Commission, will give you for the first time more detailed information about concrete measures we have identified and are to be implemented. We're all aware, ladies and gentlemen, that in order to promote investment in connectivity, we must connect in our efforts. It's a challenge for all of us in the EU, for all of us and our neighboring regions. We continue to explore the available tools to ensure that we can facilitate investment in Western Balkans. Broadband internet is a milestone, and we all know the magnitude of investment involved. Therefore, let me again address the international financial institutions and the private sector. Each of us as stakeholders have a role to play. Let me stress that we're currently debating the upcoming multi-annual financial framework of the European Union. Perhaps you've noticed in the Commission's communications from the 14th of February that the increase of financial support and the creation of a visible, clear program for the digitization of Europe will help us reach our common goals faster, because the benefits of digitization in agriculture are huge. However, all of us must admit, on the one hand, we see opportunities to grow, to innovate, create jobs. I didn't talk in detail on two new very important technologies, blockchains, I mentioned traceability of food though, and artificial intelligence, which can once again really assist in a lot of the activities that have to do with operations demanding high manual input. Digitization has its challenges and risks, but only together we can work to mitigate those risks, to make sure that only the positive effects will stay, and we make the best of what has already been achieved in terms of good practices in order to demonstrate the value added from digitization in agriculture for all of us. I am convinced that only through working together we can get there. Let me thank once again the organizers for putting together this conference. Believe me, there aren't that many conferences putting together the topics of digitization and agriculture. We all need to change our mode of operation. We all need to work together, as we do with Commissioner Hogan and Commissioner Crețu in the European Commission. Similarly, we need to work with the representatives of rural areas, farmers, and researchers, because digitization affects us all, and only together we can ensure that the benefits can be fully unleashed for agriculture, because this is what people will feel most strongly. And our common goal is that people are at the core of digitization in agriculture. Machinery will never be able to replace people, and agriculture is a bright example for that. Let's keep it up because this illustrates the value added through our common European approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Gabriel, for this inspiring outlining the framework, in particular for the strong support which the Commissioner in that sense also provides to agriculture. This is also something which, from an FAO perspective, we are very happy to see. So thank you very much for this. I have been also asked by the organizer before, we are in fact moving to the conclusion of the panel, to give the opportunity to Ms. Liliana Pavlova, the Minister for the Bulgarian Presidency of the Council for EU 2018, to address us with her opening words. Ms. Pavlova, the floor is yours.
Добър ден и от мен, уважаеми господин министър.
Ministers, dear Svetlana, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this enthusiasm, Mr. Yele. Dear guests, welcome. I'm sorry that I was late to join you at the opening, so let me, instead of opening, do the closing welcome. Something that's very important for this topic. As Commissioner Gabriel said, it's not very often that there are forums focusing on digitization in agriculture in particular, and it's a must. So I would like to thank you so much for this initiative. The topic is important. It's important because of the reality of today and the world of digital technology, which is here to stay. There is no choice. It's all around us. To make sure that we are not catching up as a sector, we need forums like this one. Because they serve to highlight the challenges and the opportunities in front of us. From the discussion so far, I have seen that this has indeed been the focus of attention. I'm very encouraged from Commissioner Gabriel's statement. Indeed, we have a lot of challenges ahead, such as the climate change and digital transformation. There is a high level of expectation coming from our citizens and businesses. So it's up to us to focus our efforts and map our steps properly, whether we call it e-agri strategy or strategy for digitizing agriculture. We need to invest in digital skills, broadband access, and the relevant infrastructure to support innovation in the sector and the development in those relevant activities. For us, it's very important to ensure there is a high-quality agricultural production and high-quality food. It's a topic which is particularly important for the Bulgarian presidencies, and Minister Porozhanov, together with the Ombudsman of Bulgaria, is holding a forum in a couple of days from now. There is a synergy in all of that because everybody working in the sector needs to be supported. In 2059 out of 10 jobs will require digital skills. This refocuses our priorities in education, including in this very important sector. Some of the priorities for the Bulgarian presidency and digital transformation, digital economy and skills target the provision of financial support for all of those policies in line with the multi-annual financial framework. I'm sure that Mr. Donchev also talked about this and debates on how this can help us map out our future is very important. 2018 is the time when we are analyzing, discussing and considering, but it's also the right time to do proper planning in order to face up the challenges for 2030. The Bulgarian presidency is honored to preside over these debates because we can hear all the viewpoints and hopefully achieve political consent, as well as explore a broad range of expertise so that we can choose the digital technologies that need to be supported most strongly. Bulgaria has its contribution that can be useful. We heard about progress made in other countries as well, and by pooling these efforts, surely we will succeed. The motto of our presidency, United we stand strong, attests to that. And if we want to stride ahead in digital agriculture, we must subscribe to the motto of our presidency. I believe in our success. Let me show you a brief video. Since in the beginning you saw what Bulgaria is in the video, let me offer you some less popular facts on Bulgaria's contribution to the wealth of this world, including in agriculture as well as culture and the economy. Welcome to Bulgaria and enjoy your stay, not only in wonderfully fulfilling conversations on this topic of debate, but also enjoying our food and culture. Thank you.
Welcome to Bulgaria. Poets and writers have praised our country as a paradise on earth, and you will recognize this yourself. Our greatest treasure is the Cyrillic alphabet, an alphabet which today is used by 300 million people around the world, and of course by all of those whose literature we are proud of. You can see some of Europe's most ancient cultures in Bulgaria. Here is the oldest collection of processed gold, along with many other treasures and sites. The Bulgarian spirit is a beautiful and infinite mystery. You can hear it in the biggest opera halls in Europe, at the most prestigious musical forums, or in the depths of space where a Bulgarian song also travels. A brilliant example of the richness of our national folk music are its unique asymmetrical rhythms. You can see the Bulgarian spirit in the works of the old or contemporary Bulgarian painters, or simply by looking into our eyes. Legends are told about the Bulgarian yogurt, and they are all true. We are proud of what our land bears, so maybe it's no coincidence that it is Bulgarian scientists who are developing the first greenhouse in space. We'll help defeat astronauts in the upcoming mission to Mars. We Bulgarians are an ingenious nation. Mathematicians, physicists, biologists, doctors. A Bulgarian invented the Nivelin medicine. It treats Alzheimer's disease and it's made of snow bells. We have discovered the sixth heart tone, a landmark discovery of its time. Among our inventions are the computer, the answering machine, the electronic wristwatch, the gearless transmission, and many others. Some inventions can make you smile, like the pepper roaster. Others sound like science fiction, but are a fact, like the tablet for the visually impaired. It's very difficult not to fall in love with Bulgaria, whether it is with our golden girls, as we call our rhythmic gymnasts, or with our sports spirit and desire to better ourselves. A Bulgarian is the first gymnast who participated in the 6 Olympics. Our high jump record in the women's category has not been broken for over 30 years. The success of our wrestlers is legendary. Bulgarian athletes have often brought us joy and have won admiration of the world. Our country is the only one in Europe that has never changed its name. We have never surrendered our flag in battle. But what is important is who we are here and now. We proudly claim that we are tolerant, hospitable, talented, and inventive. We are the land of endless opportunities, open to development, investment, and growth. Welcome to Bulgaria, where we believe that united, we stand strong.
Thank you very much, Minister Pavlova, for not just bringing the video, but indeed also the inspiring words. I would like to thank again the Commissioner Gabriel and Minister Pavlova for this intervention. I think it enriched the panel, and with that I would move quickly to the conclusion, not to keep you longer away from the coffee. I understand Commissioner Gabriel would need to leave us, so thanks again for being here. I would like to just make 6 points as concluding from the panel, and this is that I think the discussion definitely showed that information and communication technology can offer benefits, but there are certainly also risks, because not everybody can benefit equally from the technology. We talked about the issue that there is maybe not enough infrastructure access. The Commissioner was also talking about the competitiveness of the providers. So there are many impediments which certainly also have risks. The second one, which I think is also important to take home from here, is that smallholders and family farms are part of the solution to improve. It's not the only one, but they are part, and the sustainability of the food systems need support in terms of proper infrastructure, technology, and policy incentives. Third, I think it's important that a structured and a participatory approach for the national e-agriculture strategy formulation and implementation is needed. I think the outline also from the Commissioner made it very clear that we are talking about strategies across the sector. So it's not just including agriculture, because it touches on many grounds. Some of the policies and divisions on e-agriculture are limited still maybe to precision agriculture, and I think it's important that further thoughts need to be given to mechanisms of closing really the triple divide in order not to leave anybody behind to achieve the Agenda 2030 goals. I think it's also important that further knowledge exchange and operation is needed amongst the countries and the regions in Europe, bringing everybody closer to each other in order to really close this divide and to facilitate also the trade integration process, not at least also in this part of the region. From an FAO point of view, we will continue to develop the tools. We think the e-agri index is quite important, but also good practices for exchange. And we believe that no technology alone can resolve the problems in agriculture, but the right combination of the channels and the processes and tools that include innovations, both the technological and the social, are very much needed, and they could create a crucial difference in the livelihood of the people involved in agriculture and related fields. With this, I would like to close the panel. I would like to thank again the panel members for the interesting and important interventions, and I'm looking forward to further advocate for e-agriculture at the country and at the regional level. Thank you very much, and I think we are ready for a coffee break.